Well, good morning. So glad to have everyone here this morning. We were going to wait a few minutes to start, but I guess once we get up on stage, it's like became eerily quiet, so we will get started. Really glad to see everyone this morning. My name is Carlotta Mast, and I am the Senior Vice President of Content and Insights at New Hope Network. New Hope is the company that puts on these natural product expos, and we are just really happy to see everyone here this morning. And definitely wanted to extend wishes of safety and healing to any of you people who were impacted by the hurricanes or the fires or have family who have been impacted by these natural disasters. We really appreciate you being here or watching on the live stream. And again, we just send our very best wishes to you and hope that you have a wonderful Expo East. We are expecting an amazing Expo East. We started yesterday with a day of really great education, and it set the tone for what I think is going to be certainly our best Expo East ever. It's our biggest Expo East. We are expecting more than 28,000 people here in Baltimore this week, expecting just under 1,500 exhibitors, and of those 1,500 exhibitors, 380 are first-time exhibitors. So these are really new companies that are launching at Expo East, and very excited about the innovation and energy and passion that they are bringing to the industry. And so excited to have with me here today my co-presenters for our annual State of Natural presentation. We have Steve Williams, who is the Vice President of Strategic Consulting at Natural Marketing Institute. We've been doing the State of the Industry with NMI for a couple of years now, and normally Steve's colleague, Mary Ellen, presents with me, but she wasn't able to be in Baltimore this week, so Steve is filling in, and we're really glad to have you here. And also joining us for this State of the Industry is Robert Craven, the CEO of Megafood. Robert is a longtime industry leader and one of the most passionate visionaries of this industry, and I'm really excited to have him join us. And I'm going to set the stage with an overview of how the natural products industry is performing by category and sales channel, and talk about some of the trends and big disruptions that are impacting our industry. Steve is then going to look at new NMI data that shows where consumers are shopping, which channels and how they're shopping, and how that is impacting our industry and what we need to think about some of these changes in shopping behavior. And then Robert is going to close us out with some storytelling and a call to action for the industry. So we're excited to have you here to be part of that. Once again, we are live streaming this presentation, so welcome to all of the viewers via live stream. And we also have a group of bloggers who are blogging, doing a Twitter party as part of this Expo East, led by Leah Seghetti, my friend and head of Momavation and ShiftCon. And so we encourage you, if you would like to participate in the Twitter party, use the Expo East's Trends hashtag, and you can be part of that conversation as well, whether you're here or at home. And if you have questions for me or Robert or Steve, you can send those via the Expo East Trends hashtag, and send that tweet to me at Carlotta Mast, and I'll be looking at those, and we'll try to answer some of those questions throughout the presentation. And if we don't get to your questions during the presentation, we'll certainly answer via Twitter. So I'm going to dig in because we have some exciting data to share. And who here was in the industry, perhaps when people might have thought the industry was cute, it was a fad, it was a niche industry, certainly for those granola-loving tree huggers, but this was never going to go mainstream. Does anybody remember some of those conversations about the industry? Yeah, a few. Well, that is certainly not the story of this industry any longer. We have arrived as an industry, and we have tipped into the mainstream. And in 2016, according to Nutrition Business Journal estimates, the total natural product industry sales, which includes food and beverage, natural organic functional food and beverage, dietary supplements, and natural and organic personal care, grew 7.4% to $194 billion. We added $13 billion of new sales in 1 year. Before I joined this industry, I was part of the Yellow Pages industry. That entire industry was less than $13 billion 10 years ago. It must be like $5 billion now. So we added $13 billion in new sales. And we're expected as an industry to well surpass $200 billion in sales in 2017. And to put that growth into context, 10 years ago, just in 2007, this industry was less than $100 billion in sales. So over the last decade, we have more than doubled in size and are expected to continue growing significantly well into the future. So yes, we have a really powerful growth story to tell. And as we've grown, we've attracted the attention of all of the major CPG companies, all of the major retailers. Amazon is certainly paying attention to us as an industry, as we all know, and all of the major investors. So much attention is being shown to our industry, and it's not surprising when you compare the natural and organic industry to other CPG industries. When you compare it to the total food industry, our growth well surpasses that of those other industries. So when you look at natural, organic, and functional food and beverage sales combined, in 2016, that category grew 8% to about $134 billion. And compare that to the total food industry, which is a $770 billion industry, so still much more sizable than natural, organic, and functional, but it was stagnant at less than 0.5% of growth. So this is why there's so much attention on us. And while we have a very positive growth story to tell, this industry is about so much more than growth, as we're going to talk about today. It's really about harnessing our growth, harnessing our power and potential as a force for good in the broader food and CPG world. Looking at the dietary supplement category, again, an amazing growth story to tell. So when you look at total dietary supplement sales in 2016, the category grew at 6% to about $41 billion. And that growth rate far exceeded the rate of growth for the OTC, the over-the-counter drug market. It was on par with pharmaceuticals last year, but pharmaceutical growth tends to be much more up and down than either supplements or OTC. So let's dig in a little bit deeper to each of the categories. So US natural and organic food and beverage sales together grew 9.2% to $75 billion in 2016. And again, this is our largest category of the industry, the fastest growing. And it is one where you see so much innovation. So many of the companies that you'll see here at Expo East are in the natural and organic food and beverage category. And as consumers are really prioritizing fresh food and really trying to bring more fresh food into their homes, we're seeing particular growth in the produce category, of course, and meat and poultry and seafood and other categories that are really important for fresh. So looking at US functional food and beverage sales, and so functional foods and beverages are ones that either have a nutritional ingredient or functional ingredient added to the product, or incorporates very nutrient-dense ingredients and then make some kind of a functional claim on the product. We would put those in our functional food and beverage category. This category is growing a bit slower than natural and organic as a whole. Grew 6.5% last year to about $59 billion. And when we look at the ingredients that are in products exhibited at our Natural Product Expo West and Expo East, some of the hot functional ingredients right now are, of course, turmeric, ashwagandha, maca root, ginger root. Probiotic cultures are very, very hot. You'll see so many probiotic-based products here at Expo East, and protein is still one of the, the trending ingredients or claims that you'll see in functional foods and beverages, but the protein story has really turned to not just amount of protein in a product, but really the protein quality, or trying to customize that protein, whether it's for children or for a specific need state such as sleep. So I want to talk quickly about some of the food and beverage trends to watch at Expo East. My team of journalists and researchers will be paying a lot of attention to these trends. The hottest trend, I think, of 2017, and one that I am so excited about, is one we call the plant revolution. So whether it's for climate health or heart health, ecological health, just overall, health, more and more consumers are turning to plant-based alternatives to traditional meat and dairy. And the number of new plant-based products that are popping up in these categories is unbelievable. This is one that is here at Expo East, is one of our Nexty finalists, No Evil Foods. They do vacuum-packed meat alternatives in this really amazing, very millennial-friendly packaging and really clean products. This is their pulled pork barbecue, and really delicious. Even if you love pulled pork sandwiches, you would totally want this product. Trust through transparency. Transparency continues, in the consumer desire for transparency continues to really change the food industry, and our industry is leading the way in creating much more traceability and transparency to meet that consumer need. And we're seeing it also in categories such as meat and dairy. True Story Foods is an amazing provider of USDA certified organic meat products. These are their apple and wildflower honey chicken sausages. And the care that they take in sourcing the meat for their products and working with the ranchers and the producers of that meat, it is pretty extraordinary. And another trend is sugar vilified. We know that sugar is absolutely the bad guy ingredient these days. Everybody is paying attention to sugar content. And so you're seeing a lot of innovative new products that are either finding ways to provide zero-calorie sweetness, natural sweetness using stevia or monk fruit or blends of different kinds of zero-calorie natural sweeteners. And it's also exciting to see the number of new products that are also just zero, they're just not sweet at all. They are celebrating other taste profiles so that we can train our palates not to need everything to be so sweet. Probably one of my top 5 favorite products at this Expo East is this Sound Sparkling rose tea. Unbelievable, is something that I hope everyone gets a chance to try on the Expo floor. Snackification is another big trend. The snack trend is not losing steam at all, continues to really shape a lot of the growth of the industry and see so much innovation. And we continue to see lots of new ways that companies are taking on the snackification trend to provide a lot of convenience as well as very, very nutrient-dense snacks. This is a new product, this Great Gort Project. They have a protein bar ready mix. So this is a do-it-yourself nutrition bar mix, so that for people who really love to make their own snacks, this kit would allow you to customize your own nutrition bar. Biodynamic certification by Demeter is something that we're starting to see really pop up in the natural products industry. Biodynamic is a type of agricultural certification that was really the foundation of organic agriculture in this country. And it was just a couple years ago that there was one biodynamic certified product on the market, and now we're seeing a growing number of biodynamic certified products, from manufacturers that are trying to tap into those consumers who really, really care about regenerative agriculture, the health of our soil, and taking better care of both the land and our farmers who produce the ingredients that go into our product. One of the new biodynamic certified offerings is White Leaf Provisions apple and pear sauce. So exciting to see this trend, and it will be interesting to see how many more biodynamic certified products we have at Expo West. Inherently functional is the last trend I wanted to call out in the food and beverage category, and this is one where, again, brands are incorporating highly nutrient-dense ingredients such as turmeric or ginger into products to provide a functional benefit without adding a sort of engineered or processed ingredient to provide that functionality. This new product by Cool was another Nexty finalist and one that we're really excited about. So looking at total US supplement sales, again, as I had mentioned, this category grew 6% to $41 billion last year, adding $2.3 billion in new sales. And what's exciting about the growth that we're seeing in supplements, it is lower than we see in food and beverage, but it's really picked up from 2014 when the category was hit by some negative research and negative media, which really brought down sales growth for the category as a whole. And even those product categories that were hit within supplements, multivitamins and omega-3s, all saw growth last year at about 2%. So we're seeing the category recover from some of that negative news and again pick up back to where it was in terms of growth. Some of the supplement trends that we're watching at Expo East, condition-specific supplements continue to be a very common and popular way for supplement companies to position their products for consumers so that consumers really understand what those products are for. But it's interesting to see the new kind of conditions of today that companies are tackling. And this Essential Eyes formula by Ridgecrest Herbals is a great example. So this is for really all consumers who are on their computers or their phones a lot, and this would be a very important supplement to help those fatigued eyes and just mitigate kind of some of the conditions of modern day life. As I had mentioned, protein continues to be a hot category. In supplements, we're seeing lots of new takes on protein formulations. This Jarrow Formulas pumpkin seed protein uses pumpkin as the source of protein, and something pretty new for that category. And then supplements like food are really focused on delivering convenience. We know that consumers can have pill fatigue. They can, be tired of popping all of those pills. So we're seeing a lot of new innovative delivery formats for supplements. This Nordic Naturals Flora Kids Probiotic Pixie is an example. So this is a probiotic supplement for kids in a very kid-friendly Pixie format. Looking at natural living sales, this category, which includes natural and organic personal care, beauty, household products, and also pet food, grew 6.7% to just under $19 billion last year. And some of the trends that we're watching in the natural living category, the values connection. Across all categories, really savvy brands are using their purpose and mission as a way to align their values with the values of their consumers and create those great connections. We're seeing that even in the dental category. So Woo Bamboo, they make eco-friendly dental products, and they are connecting with consumers who believe that every small thing that you can do as a consumer can have a positive impact on the environment, including even flossing your teeth. So this is biodegradable tooth floss. And another big trend across all categories, but we're also seeing it pop up in natural living, is one we call waste not, want not. We all know what a huge impact food waste is having on our environment and on even being able to provide access to healthy food to more consumers. And it's also, the flip side of that is you're seeing more and more brands really try to address the waste issue by either incorporating upcycled ingredients into their products, making their products biodegradable, like these Poof diapers. So this is a truly biodegradable diaper which has hit the market, and finding a way to connect to consumers who really care about waste, whether it's in packaging or food waste. And finally, the last trend in this category that we're really watching, and we're watching it across all categories, is one we call the verified brand. And this relates to the many certifications and affiliations that exist out there for consumers to really understand the values of a brand. And by affiliating with the right organization, brands can convey their values to consumers in a way that many consumers find very trustworthy. And Palm Done Right is a new movement within the industry for sustainable conflict-free palm oil. Palm oil is one of the most common ingredients found in all natural products, whether it's food and beverage or even personal care products. And a lot of the palm supply that is in our industry is not sustainable, it's conflict palm. And so Palm Done Right is aligning with palm producers who provide no conflict palm for our industry. And this is a great way, so when consumers start to see this label, they'll understand that not all palm oil is bad, and this is a product that they can trust. So I'm now going to talk a little bit about sales by channel, because we know that our retail and distribution landscape has been disrupted pretty significantly. And so when we look at sales of all natural products across all categories, the vast majority are rung up in the mass market channel. So this is this incorporates everything from Walmart to Costco, Kroger, Target, all of that in the mass market channel. After that, we have the natural channel that follows the mass market channel, and then all of these little channels at the bottom, we call those collectively the direct-to-consumer channels, which includes the internet and practitioner, radio, TV, film. So it's not surprising that the internet is the fastest growing sales channel for our industry. It is growing at about 11.6% to just about under $7 billion for the industry as a whole. And we know those are very conservative estimates because of all the channels, the internet is perhaps the hardest one to track. And so, but sales via e-commerce are growing at a much faster rate than we're seeing for the industry as a whole. And it's not surprising given all of the innovation and the continued migration of consumer shopping behaviors to the internet. When we look at this by product category, not surprising that we see mass market retail really dominate in natural, organic, and functional food and beverages. So 71% of all natural, organic, and functional food and beverage sales come through the mass market channel, followed by natural and specialty retailers, which incorporates all of our really amazing natural retailers out there at 23.6%. Now, it's a very, very different story for supplements, because supplements is the one category where the majority of our industry sales still happen at natural and specialty. So our independent retailers continue, and the specialty supplement stores continue to generate the lion's share of sales. And this is really important because these retailers have long been on the front lines of education and advocacy for the supplement industry. And they have those one-on-one connections with their shoppers to really explain the benefits and how to use supplements most effectively. So it's very heartening for me to see that 36% of supplement sales still happen in the natural channel. Now, natural living sales, this again is a bit of a different picture. It's about, it's pretty balanced between mass market and natural and specialty retail, but you'll see that this is the largest category for internet for our industry. Accounts for about 12.5% of all of our natural living sales. So this is one where increasingly e-tailers like Amazon and e-commerce channel has become important for natural living. Now, lots happening when it comes to the retail and distribution landscape for our industry. As I had mentioned, obviously Amazon's very interested in our industry now, has acquired Whole Foods Market, and this was our first Expo where Amazon is the owner of Whole Foods. And it will be really interesting to see, and there's been so much discussion about what the ownership of Whole Foods Market by Amazon will mean for our industry. Lots of pontification on many sides of this question, and nobody yet quite knows. And because of that, we know that Amazon is such a powerful company. And so there was a group of bloggers that partnered with New Hope to launch this campaign that we're calling Amazon for Good, where we are using social media and our influencers, our social influencers, to try to get a dialogue going with consumers, and hopefully Amazon will join in, and we'd love to have the rest of the industry join in on this, on how Amazon can use its power and its influence as a force for good. So we had a Twitter party last week did we have, 32 million impressions? 37.5 million impressions from this 90-minute Twitter party that we had. And this is just the start of a conversation that we want to engage Amazon on about how they can be a force for good and really address the issue of access, equal access to healthy food. So Amazon, beyond owning Whole Foods Market, they are having a big impact on our industry. So if you're an Amazon Prime shopper, then you know they have their new Amazon Prime Dash buttons, really easy way for you to quickly order your favorite products. And when I look at my Amazon Prime button, you know, some of my favorite natural and organic brands are right there, easy for me to order. No brainer, they are one of our finalists in the Pitch Slam tonight, so hopefully you'll be able to see them pitch. I'm able to just with the tap of a button, be able to have my no-brainer continually come to my house. Other new models that are, popping up on the internet that are potentially, pretty significant disruptors for our industry. There's, a number of new internet-based supplement companies. Care of is just one. They offer personalized vitamin and supplement packs for shoppers, positioned definitely for a millennial audience who wants to have customized, personalized supplements. Another new supplement e-tailer out there is called Ritual. This is really an interesting product. We had the millennial CEO of this company speak at our NBJ Summit this year, and she was so impressive in her fresh approach to the supplement industry was really interesting. So they have one product. It's a supplement that contains 9 nutrients that research has shown are really essential for women. And so they have this one supplement for women, and they provide traceable, really high quality ingredients in this supplement, and it includes everything from omega-3s to magnesium, folate, vitamin K2, vitamin D, the things that they believe women really need. And this is positioned so well for shoppers who would never really consider supplements. Another potential disruptor is a company called Brandless. They launched in July, and they carry no brands on this site. It is a completely brandless site. Everything, it costs $3, and they offer organic, non-GMO food and household products. And they're trying to reimagine what it means to be a brand in today's world, a brand that is rooted in authenticity, transparency, and trust. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this company. And I just wanted to end with this idea that, yes, there is lots of disruption happening in our industry. There are lots of new players, lots of innovation. Amazon has stepped in a big way. But let's not forget the natural pioneers who continue to pioneer this industry, who continue to innovate what it means to grow natural, organic, and better for you products for their entire communities. And I'm speaking about the natural retailers who have long been sort of the bedrock of this industry. These are some of the East Coast retailers that I just love. These are some of our either past New Hope Retailer of the Year winners or some of our finalists this year. Mom's Organic Market right here, Mustard Seed Market and Cafe. MJ's Market and Deli is a new fresh food, very convenience-focused store that Mama Jean's has opened up. And these types of markets continue to innovate. They continue to be on the front lines with shoppers, advocating and evangelizing for the values of this industry. And so despite all of the disruption, I'm really pretty confident that they will stand strong. And so Michael Cantor, who I hope most of you know, if you don't, this is a pioneer of our industry. He owns Cambridge Naturals with his family in Massachusetts. And this was a recent quote when we asked him about Amazon and all the change that's happening. He said, "We are never giving up. We think there's an opportunity for local independence to survive and thrive." And we could not agree more with Michael. And so when you see those retailers here at Expo East, thank them for being the pioneers of our industry. Thank them for all the growth that they've been leading and the opportunities that they've created for all of us. And with that, I will switch it over to Steve.
All right. Thank you, Carlotta. The Natural Marketing Institute, we have been since 1990 in the business of understanding what consumers are thinking and how they are behaving. And so the data and the insights that I'll review with you today are based on our surveys and our extensive conversations with consumers that have been going on for many years, as you'll see. So building on what Carlotta has talked about with the enormous growth of this industry in healthy and natural products, and the trends that we're seeing on how important this has become to the consumer, this is obviously driven by what the consumers want, and they want to be healthier and they want more sustainable products. And so we'll see in terms of how they shop, how that has affected and what the trends are in that regard. And this has some implications that we think that we'll talk about a little bit as well. So this is really a little different from what Carlotta spoke about in terms of volume and where the sales are. This is where consumers say that they shop for healthy and natural products. And we see some shifts over the past decade, but first, as you would expect, the big three outlets where consumers say they shop for these healthy and natural products are traditional supermarkets, and then mass merchandisers such as Walmart, and then drugstores. So those are the ones with tens of thousands of outlets all across the country, and this is what you would expect to see. Now, following that, interestingly, we see that internet shopping for healthy and natural products has matched the club channel for those types of products in terms of where consumers say they shop. And then we see the natural food supermarkets following closely behind. This would be Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Sprouts, the larger chains. And then the other retail outlets, the independent, the health and natural food stores, as Carlotta mentioned, who really got this industry started and got it off the ground, at about a quarter of consumers saying they shop there. And then other nutrition stores, about 1 out of 5 consumers, or 1 out of 6, are shopping there. And this would be a GNC or a Vitamin Shop outlet such as that. The interesting thing, though, too, here is that a quarter of Americans say they are shopping for healthy and natural products with healthcare providers. So this may be conventional physicians, it may be alternative healthcare providers, such as naturopathic physicians, it could be physical therapists and so on. But those in the nutritional supplement industry know how important that healthcare provider component is for distribution and sales. And it sometimes seems that it may fly a little bit below the radar because these aren't obviously big chains or huge organizations, but it's a large number of these folks who are out there, and they are certainly having an impact on our industry. Now, when we look at the compound annual growth rate over a long period of time, and this is an 11-year period. As I said, we've been asking consumers questions about their shopping behavior for many, many years, and what we see is that the big three types of outlets have pretty much been flat since 2005. So this goes back to before the Great Recession, so there obviously has been a lot of change in our economy, and now economic growth has been pretty strong, relatively strong for the last 8 years or so, which is great. But where we see the larger growth really happening is some of these alternative outlets. So we see that the natural food supermarkets, the Whole Foods and the Trader Joe's and the Sprouts growing at 7% per year on average over an 11-year period. Obviously that's an enormous number when you add it together, and that has a great impact on this industry overall and the impact on sales on that. Followed by the GNCs and the Vitamin Shop and Vitamin World types of stores, and then the health and natural food stores that are the more traditional, smaller, what we might think of as health food or natural food stores, growing very nicely as well, which is great to see. When we look at an acceleration, who's accelerating in the last 4 years, a little bit of a different story begins to emerge. So you see that the internet and online sales, in terms of the proportion of consumers, 2 out of 5 consumers saying they're shopping there for healthy and natural products, that growth has started to accelerate in recent years. So they're increasing their capture of the number of consumers. But what this also says is, because Carlotta mentioned that the growth has been even stronger within the internet and online, that tells us that the consumers are getting used to clicking to purchase their products. So ones who are already on the internet are actually increasing their purchasing occasions and increasing their buying through the internet. But the number one growth channel, as we saw already strong, is that healthcare provider channel, almost 9% compound annual growth rate in the most recent 4 years. And that's tremendous growth and something to be aware of and something to keep in mind in terms of distribution of our products. The other nutrition stores and the more conventional health food stores, or the smaller and more independent health food stores, growing strongly as well. When we talk to consumers about what are the things that influence you to purchase healthy and natural products, we basically give them what we call a 5-box continuum. So we'll give them a list of potential influencers and say, rate these influencers on whether they're extremely influential and important to you in terms of what you purchase, or they're just not important at all at the other end of the scale. So these numbers are the percentages of consumers who select one of those top 2 boxes. In other words, these are the influencers that to them are quite important. And a couple of interesting points here. One is that the package label remains the influencer that consumers cite as most important in terms of affecting their purchase. So whether it's what they're seeing in the store, or whether they're looking at the ingredient panel and the nutrition facts panel when they get home and are using the product or consuming the product, the package label remains utterly important. So certainly something to keep in mind in terms of what your ingredient panel shows and what your graphics on the package display. This is absolutely important. Then there are a couple of other groups, and this is sort of the top tier of influencers. So all these influencers are cited as important by more than half of consumers, but people who they know and trust. Consumers trust their doctors, who, as we just saw, are now selling healthy and natural products as well. So they're going to listen to the advice that these healthcare providers give them, but they trust their friends and relatives, then trust their spouses. They also look for sales and in terms of reduced prices and coupons, and then traditional messaging vehicles like in-store materials, and then digital and TV advertising are important as well. When we go sort of to the second tier, if you will, now these are influencers that fall below that 50% proportion of consumers who saying these things influence them. Third-party seals and certifications are very important. They're just under that 50% mark, but you see social media, 2 out of 5 consumers citing that as very influential, and about a third, if you go down further to the bottom of the list there, corporate and brand websites are important to about a third of consumers, which doesn't seem great until you look at which ones have been growing. Now this is a 4-year growth track, so this is from 2012 to 2016. The influencer that consumers say, more consumers say is impacting their decision to purchase healthy and natural products is the corporate website and the brand website. So another thing, aside from the package label, that we want to make sure we're not neglecting in terms of influencing these consumers. The second biggest growth vehicle is social media. So your Facebook page and everything that you're setting up on any of your social media vehicles are also obviously very important to what consumers say are influencing them and becoming increasingly important. The fact that the blogs are also important, but as we know, the fact that kids are in the household, once people start a family and they have young children, we know that they shift very quickly into a much greater interest in healthy eating and using supplements and setting a good example for their kids and giving their children healthy products to consume and keeping healthy products around the house for things like household cleaning and cosmetics and so on. So that's with millennials increasingly forming households and starting families, that becomes a very important influencer for this market. Now looking at, and Carlotta had mentioned before, obviously everyone is well aware and is very interested in the impact of the Amazon acquisition of Whole Foods. So we'll take a look at some cross-shopping and some nuances of consumer shopping behavior across these different channels. And what we see when we ask people and group people into as natural channel shoppers, including the chains like Whole Foods, but also the independent channels, and then we group them as internet shoppers, which is predominantly Amazon, of course, but also there are other channels through which you can purchase healthy and natural products. We see that there's a very high degree of cross-shopping. So coincidentally, they both types of shoppers index 36% higher for the other one. That's not the same number. That's just a coincidental number in terms of how that's reported. But in other words, people shopping in natural channels have a greater propensity to shop online and vice versa. And then interestingly, what we also see, though, is that in terms of conventional outlets, people who shop online are 50% more likely to say they shop in convenience stores, and they are 80 or 90% more likely to patronize a home delivery service, whether it's a more, I guess, traditional one, we would say, like a Instacart or a Peapod, or whether it's a specialty Blue Apron type of service as well. And this is, we see some of the same numbers on that home delivery that come in with natural channel shoppers. So these folks obviously overlap. And the Whole Foods shoppers are also heavily on the internet, 45% more likely to shop the internet than the US general population consumer. One of the conclusions, and this is something that we've seen in our surveys repeatedly in recent years, is that there is increasingly an expectation that I'm going to get convenience, it's going to be easy for me to get what I want, and what I want is healthy products. So if in the past there's been an assumption that there's a trade-off between speed and convenience for health, that is not the expectation that consumers have. So being in a position to deliver both of those things is very important and very advantageous to a marketer. Regarding Whole Foods and Amazon specifically, 2/3 of Whole Foods shoppers are also say they are shopping at Amazon on a regular and consistent basis, and 1 out of 5 Amazon shoppers say that they shop at Whole Foods. So the number is considerably lower, but in both cases, they over-index versus the US general population. So only 52% of US adults say that they shop at Amazon, but 2/3 of Whole Foods shoppers say that. And 21% of Amazon shoppers say they shop at Whole Foods. Only 16% of the US general population adults would say the same thing. So considerable overlap between these two groups, and now that they're merged, they already have kind of a sort of a leading trend to take advantage of with that. We'll shift gears a little bit now, and we'll look at the shopping behaviors through the lens of consumer segments. And NMI, we have been providing a segmented view of consumers for many years in terms of their attitudes about health and wellness. And the reason that this is important, and the reason that we look at it this way, is that in terms of targeting your products more successfully, a segmented approach with all the statistical work and all the rigorous analysis that goes on behind that has proven to be a more efficient and more effective way of getting to the consumers who are likely to respond positively to your product, of tailoring your innovations for those targeted consumers, and for tailoring your messaging and your advertising to them. So we have the US consumers broken out into 5 different segments. The largest one is called the well-beings. They are 1/4 of the population. They are the most interested in health and wellness. They are the most committed to a healthy lifestyle, and they are also the ones who tend to be the first to adopt new and healthy and natural products and healthy and natural behaviors. And so they are sort of trendsetters for everyone else to follow. As you introduce healthier products and more natural products, what the well-beings are doing and how they'll react is a very important group to understand what they're going to do with that. The food actives, on the other hand, this is the smallest segment of the US population, and the mix of these segments has been changing over time. They're 14% of the population, and this is what you would call mainstream healthy. They are very focused on their health, but they're focused on using traditional means to achieve health. So they might be, for example, less interested in or less oriented to an organic foods lifestyle, but they are oriented to eating low carbs or less sugar, and they are the group that actually exercises, or say they exercise more than any of the other groups. They tend to be a bit older, and they tend to be a little bit more affluent than the population as a whole. This group called the Magic Bullets, 1 out of 5 Americans, has a lower commitment to a healthy lifestyle. They have many challenges in life. Among them is this group tends to be the least healthy segment within the population. And with everything that they have going on, they are looking for quick and easy solutions to address their health challenges. So this is an important group in terms of the size and their willingness to try new things to improve their health. So important to understand what they're doing. The aspirational group, the fence sitters, is a health striving group. Again, just under a quarter of the population, a very large group. This group is interesting because they tend to be younger, they tend to be more likely to have small children in the family, they are more likely to have dual income households. They're busy, they have a lot going on. They want to be healthy, but because they have typically young kids in the house and they're taking care of them, they sometimes have to make compromises or cut corners, if you will, in terms of achieving a healthy lifestyle. But the desire for it is there with the fence sitters. And then we have the final group, the Eat, Drink, and Be Merries. They are not focused or concerned on a healthy lifestyle at all. They don't have much health motivation. They're kind of, I guess, in a sense, living in the moment. The interesting thing with this group, as 17% of the population, is that 10 or 11 years ago, they were the largest segment in the US population. So when we look at the growth of this healthy and natural products industry and everything that we see here at Expo East, and how this program and this event has grown, this is reflected in terms of what consumers want. But even with these Eat, Drink, and Be Merries, as well as all the other segments, you see their attitudes having changed over time. So there's sort of a rising tide effect that is floating all of these segments into a greater interest in health and wellness and healthy behaviors. In terms of where people spend, now this comes from our friends at Nielsen, who have taken the NMI segments that I've just outlined, and they've overlaid this into their home scan consumer panel. So within Nielsen, they have 100,000 or 125,000 consumers in the US, and they track all of their shopping trips, and they track everything they buy on those shopping trips. So they have a very finely sliced awareness of what people are spending. And we see that well-beings are the most important segment in terms of their total spending for all groceries and all products that you might find in any of the retail outlets that I've outlined previously. So this is not just their purchase of healthy and natural products, this is just their purchasing overall. So well-beings are the group that consumes the most on average. Within this Nielsen panel, they've identified a group of retail outlets that they call Premier Grocery. And this is interesting because this is where you would tend to find healthier and natural products distributed more and more available. This would include not only Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and Sprouts, but it also includes outlets like Wegmans or Gelson's, and I think that Harris Teeter is another one that's in that group. So you get the picture of what that kind of shopping is. But the well-beings are the group that spends the highest proportion of all their shopping dollars in this Premier Grocery channel at 6%. So about 1 out of every $18 is going to this Premier Grocery from well-beings. Now, what Nielsen also does is not only look at spending, but they look at trips. And what's interesting here is the well-beings are way over-indexing in terms of 1 out of every 10 trips that they make to go shopping is to one of these Premier Grocery outlets. And they are under-indexing on shopping at mass merchandisers, i.e. Walmart, and to some degree Target. So they tend to make more of these trips to the Premier Grocery. And in fact, what we see though across all the segments is they make more trips, a higher percentage of their trips to these outlets as opposed to their spending. So what this says is that this Premier Grocery, such as Whole Foods or such as Wegmans, has an issue of cherry picking or special occasion trips or going to one of these outlets to pick up a special thing, not necessarily the day in, day out, 4 times a week shopping trip for the grocery staples for the household. So what will be interesting is if Amazon is able to change that with Whole Foods, or assuming they wish to change that, and whether Whole Foods will become sort of a staple shopping destination going forward across these businesses. And when we look at the different outlets, again, with the Whole Foods and the Amazon news, the shopping on the internet, in terms of the segments that are most important to them, more than 50%, well over half of the shoppers that are going to online destinations are either well-beings or fence sitters. And obviously very important groups for those outlets to pay attention to. And then at Whole Foods, 3/4 of their shoppers are currently in those 2 segments. So whatever is happening with Amazon and Whole Foods, or for those among us who are distributing products through those outlets, it's very important to focus on what these segments are doing and thinking and how they're behaving. Incidentally, the magic bullets have grown quite a bit in importance with the internet. If you think about them looking for quick and easy solutions and looking for something new that can help them with their health concerns, the internet is a great way to do that. So even though they're not focused on living a healthy lifestyle, they're looking for products via online channels that will support their desire to address health issues in as fast and easy a manner as possible. When we look at a change over time, again, this is a 4-year window, so this is 2012 to 2016. We look at what's been happening to the profiles of internet shoppers, primarily Amazon, of course, and Whole Foods shoppers. And in both cases, their shoppers in 4 years have gotten younger, they've gotten more likely to have children in the household, they're more highly educated, they're more ethnically diverse. So this reflects the influx and the importance of millennials into shopping with these outlets. The same thing is true of people shopping online. The only difference is that the Whole Foods shoppers have actually become more affluent in the last 4 years, whereas we don't see that trending with the internet and online sales as well. When we look at shoppers psychographically in terms of what their general attitudes are and some important issues regarding shopping for healthy and natural products, we do see some differences though. So comparing Whole Foods shoppers with Amazon shoppers, Whole Foods, two-thirds of them are likely to say, I'm the first one to try a new product or service. Over half say that my friends and family come to me for advice on what they should be doing and how to live healthier. And 3/4 are saying, hey, if I like something, I'll try to influence other people to try it. Amazon, those numbers are all quite a bit less. The one that's closest is the willingness to influence others to try products. So the Whole Foods shopper from the Amazon perspective has an interesting and a different perspective in terms of how they will pursue new products, try innovative new things, and how they will try to influence others in their shopping. When you look at embracing a healthy lifestyle overall, again, the Whole Foods shoppers will tend to lead the Amazon shoppers in this space. Over half of Whole Foods shoppers say that living a healthy lifestyle is extremely important to me, whereas less than 40% of internet or Amazon shoppers would say that. And then organics, whether we ask them whether you think organic products are worth paying 20% premium for. That's a pretty huge number. 20% is enormous on a price point. 1/4 of Whole Foods shoppers say, yes, I think that's worthwhile. Only 16% of Amazon shoppers, and obviously you can do a lot more pricing work to sort of fine slice, what percentage is the one where you'll get, a much higher proportion of consumers saying that organic is important. And then almost half of Whole Foods shoppers say that taking a vitamin every day is important to my health, a little bit lower than that number for the Amazon shopper. So thank you for your time and your interest in the information here. I hope this has been, these have been some helpful insights into terms of what's been happening with consumers and shopping in the US for healthy products. And now I will turn it over to Robert.
Thanks, Steve. So a little over 2.5 years ago, I was put in an amazing position. I was overwhelmingly blessed to share one of my kidneys with my uncle. Some would say that this was a heroic act. I would probably put that back and say, well, I think I was impacted just as much as my uncle, and there's a story underlying this thing that I think is relevant to our conversation today. So let me jump into the story. This beautiful family is centered by my Aunt Janice, my father's youngest sister, amazing woman, and her husband, his name is Doug. Doug Kivett is there in the bright shirt, looking very happy. And in May of 2014, I received my first call, and my first call was from my mom, who's probably watching online live. Hi, Mom, shout out, right? But my mom called me in May of 2014 and she said, Doug's not doing well. And I knew he had been struggling with his health for a long time. He had been put on a kidney transplant list. He had a terrible disease called polycystic kidney disease, PKD. What happens is your kidney basically fills up with cysts. Both of his kidneys now weighed 34 pounds. That's a young toddler, okay? So in this picture, my Uncle Doug is carrying around 34 pounds worth of kidneys. His outlook was bleak. His doctor said he was 6 months away from being on dialysis, which basically means 3 trips every week, hooked up to a line for 4 hours each trip for the rest of his life. He was in a situation where his energy was extremely low, couldn't really do a whole lot. When he did try to play golf or go out and do something in the community, one of those cysts would burst and he would have to go to the emergency room. His outlook was maybe 10 years of life and not a very high quality of life at that. So my mom was explaining this. Of course, I went on Google. You gotta go on Google and figure out what PKD is. And then I got my second call. And the second call was from in here, right? It's the still small voice that you hear. Something kind of tapping on your brain or your heart saying, hey, maybe you should do something. Maybe there's something you can do. So I called my aunt. I called my Aunt Janice and I said, hey, talk to me about this. What does this mean? Where can we go with this? What's happening? And she explained that they were actively looking for donors. Living donors would be very hard to find. He had a very rare blood type. So they said that the prognosis of him finding a living donor was very small. She had gone to give her blood to see if she could be a match, and she was a potential match. So she felt good about that. And then, again, that little small voice, right, tapping on me. I went to give my blood to see if I was a match, and it turned out I could be a match. I have a blood type that supports his blood type. Then it's off to Duke Medical Center for 2 days of extensive testing. I think at last count, I probably gave 30 vials of blood, CT scans, they pumped some kind of radioactive fluid through me. I mean, just the full workup for 2 full days at Duke Medical Center to see if we would be a match. In the case of kidney donation, they place more emphasis on the health of the donor than they do the recipient. The last thing they want to do is harm the donor. If you think about it, right? It's weird. It was very frustrating for me because I'm like, let's just get on with this. But they went so deep on making sure the donor would be okay that it took a long time. It was a very long process. In the end, my aunt dropped out of the race. After her 2 days at Duke, she was no longer a candidate. Luckily for me and for my Uncle Doug, I was a candidate. So 1 year later, we had the surgery. So he was I was in the hospital for a few days. He was in the hospital ICU for 7 days and then another 5 days in the hospital. In the end, it all went really, really well. The doctors would say later that if it weren't for me stepping up, there's very little chance he would have found a donor, living or deceased, because of his blood type. So in the end, this worked out really well. And my 6-inch scar on my belly reminds me every day how blessed I am to have gone through that process with my uncle. And what's really great is that my uncle is now very healthy. He's playing golf once a week. He's got a beautiful family that he's taking care of. And I wrote down a quote when I was talking to him about this process, and we talk pretty often. And I think it's relevant to what we're talking about today. So hang in there with me, okay? This is going someplace. But his quote was basically, I think the absolute biggest change between before and now is that I can dream again. I don't mean sleep dreaming. I mean dreaming of the future, setting goals, realizing that things are possible again. And I have to tell you, this is very emotional for me. This is a very spiritual thing. It's been 2.5 years since I've told this story, right? So I mean, it's not something that I go around bragging about. But when Carlotta asked me to speak here today, I couldn't think of a better example of kind of where we're at as an industry and some of the key lessons that I've learned through this process are lessons that I want to share with you today that maybe you can take away and we can do something big as an industry together. 2 quick lessons, and they're pretty simple. There's a small voice, and it calls. There's a call that gets placed. And I'm blessed to know a lot of the entrepreneurs in this industry, and they get called. I mean, they believe deeply in what they're doing and how they're doing it. And it's not about money. It's not about yachts or houses. It's about a calling. There's a still small voice that most entrepreneurs in this industry feel to their bones. So lesson number 1, listen to the small voice. Lesson number 2 is have the courage to do something about what that small voice is telling you to do. So listen to your small voice and then have the courage to apply it. Let's take a look at another courageous act. This is my favorite video of all times. Maybe some of you are familiar with this. Now here's courage, man. Watch this guy. He's got his short shorts on. The music is in him. His still small voice is saying, we need to dance right now on this grass in our short shorts, okay? Now here's your early adopter. So this man's passion came out in that courage, right? Small voice, courage, passion. The link to passion is huge here. Early adopter feels the passion, jumps up and jumps in, right? Love it. He's still giving it all he's got. Look, he's focused on his goal. His vision is clear. He is going to be the best dancing man in the world. Oh, here comes another member of the tribe. We're all doing our thing. But this guy's small voice led to some incredible passion. That passion was infectious, so infectious. And now people are joining. I love this video. When I need a little shot in the arm, this is it, right? Little bit of passion, a little bit of courage. Look how attractive that is. Don't you guys just want to get up and dance right now? One guy, small voice, courage, the courage in his short shorts to get up there and shake it like that. And now look at his tribe. He's created a tribe that's so in love with his passion, it's infectious. I love this. This is it right here. This is our industry. This is the natural industry right here. We've been doing it for 60 years. And look at this. It's worth watching every minute of that, okay? It all started with a little bit of courage. Let me go back here, all right? It all started with a little bit of courage, right? Courage is defined as the ability to do something that frightens. Who would be, if you were sitting on the hillside there in those short shorts, wouldn't you be frightened to get up and start shaking it like that? So the ability to do something that frightens, or strength to face change, pain, or grief. That's the definition of courage. And courage is very important right now in our marketplace. We are going through some major technological shifts. I like to think that a key to this is Moore's Law. How many of you have heard of Moore's Law? How many of you are holding an Android or an iPhone phone, right? So Moore's Law basically says, and I'm going to get it half right, technology is basically going to double every year. So that's the baseline of this. Double, it used to be 18 months, now it's somewhere between 12 and 18 months, but technology is basically doubling. So what you got last year for $500, you'll get twice that next year for $500. Or that iPhone you're holding in your pocket will be twice that on sale near you in November, okay? But if you think about technology doubling from the 70s and 80s, think of it as 4 plus 4 equals 8. 8 plus 8 equals 16. That's doubling, that's exponential growth. When you get into the 90s, it has a certain flow. When you get into 2017, it's like something, I'm gonna make this up, 10 million plus 10 million equals 20 million. Or 300 million plus 300 million equals 600 million. So when you boil all that down, what that means is change is growing at an exponential rate. And it's affecting us in an exponential way. Facebook, Twitter, social media, the fact that I can go online right now and I can go to my phone right now and ask Siri anything and she'll pretty much give me the answer. It's getting crazy out there. This leads, in my mind, to a concept that I wrote a blog about a year ago called the ubiquitous shopper. The ubiquitous shopper wants to shop wherever they are, however they want to shop. I was standing in line at the DMV with my daughter the other day, and I'm online buying shoes, okay? Standing in line at the DMV, buying shoes. So that's an example of the ubiquitous shopper. If I'm in a store, I want to buy my product. If I'm online, I want to buy my product. If I'm talking to my friend, I want them to tell me about product. It's all ubiquitous. That's why you're hearing things like omni-channel marketing. Anybody heard that term? You can't just go channel to channel anymore from a marketing standpoint. It's got to be omni-channel. This explains why Walmart bought Jet. Omni-channel. They've got stores, they want to be online. This explains why Amazon bought Whole Foods. They're online, they needed some stores. In-store delivery, no out of stocks, serve the consumer where they are, however they want to be served. That's called omni-channel. Really cool announcement this week I was reading in the news, Nordstrom. Anybody see this? Nordstrom local? Amazing. So Nordstrom's taking a hit in their stock, and I believe all these public companies that are in retail are all taking hits to their stock. It's not going to go away. It's a tough environment for public companies because they can't change fast enough. So Nordstrom came out and they're trying to go private, which I think is smart, which is a nice move for Whole Foods as well. But Nordstrom came out and said, we're going to open Nordstrom local stores, no inventory, coffee, alcohol, fashionistas, people that can help me dress myself, and then I'll have it to your home the next day. They understand it's about experience. They understand it's no longer about just having product available. And this is, I could give you example after example after example. I could give you an hour worth of examples on this, and that's just one good one. Another big trend coming out of Moore's Law is personalized wellness. Personalized wellness, genetics, blood testing, these are all things that we're testing now at MegaFood. We're trying to figure out how to be relevant in this new world. And it's an example of something that you might take back to your companies. How are we going to be relevant? We're looking at things like genetic testing, blood testing, new delivery forms. These are all very important because our customer wants them. And as technology grows up around us, we have to be there for our customer. And that takes courage. You know why it takes courage? Because you can't put an ROI on it, folks. I can't talk to my friends in multiple genetics companies and put an ROI on what that might look like for our business. And if you can't put an ROI on it, it's hard to invest. Make sense? So it takes courage to kind of blow through some of this stuff. So, and you guys saw this earlier, but I love this slide. Sometimes things can be overwhelming. And courage allows you to feel like you can do things in a new way. At MegaFood, we're instituting a new leadership principle called conscious leadership. And conscious leadership teaches that you have to be above the line. You should look at this up on YouTube, conscious leadership, above the line, below the line. Below the line is I'm a victim. Below the line thinking is the world is happening to you. Above the line thinking is all about curiosity and how can we do things different and not being attached to the old way or how we do things. It's a big deal for us to all go above the line as an industry because I got to tell you, even though what makes this industry great is amazing and it's not going to go away, what got us here will not get us there. What got us to where we are as an industry will not get us to the next level. It just won't. So a lot of this is called the pivot. I'm spending a lot of time at MegaFood talking about our pivot. What is the pivot? The industry is pivoting. Does anybody know what Starbucks did before they had retail outlets? Many of you might know back in the early 70s, they sold espresso machines. So Howard Schultz was out and looking at espresso machines, and that turned into the third place. It turned into Starbucks. Does anybody know what Twitter's name was before it was Twitter? The name of Twitter was Odeo, O-D-E-O, and it was a service that helped you find a great podcast. That's what Twitter was. Now what happened is iTunes came out with their podcast, and Twitter had an O moment. And the leaders of Twitter said, we've got 2 weeks to figure out what our new model is. And in 2 weeks, they came up with a micro-blogging site called Twitter. 2 weeks. That's a pivot. Now, Silicon Valley is really good at the pivot. Silicon Valley is awesome. And at the last MBJ Summit that New Hope puts on, which I love, Tom Chi, who was one of the founders of Google X, presented. And it was a radical presentation for me. It just really changed the way I think about things. Tom Chi was on Google X. Google X is the arm of Google where they do moonshots. They try new things. And on the first day of Google X's launch, Sergey and Larry, the founders of Google, walk in. They start brainstorming stuff that Google X might do. Really all about moonshots. And this is many years ago. They brainstormed a thing called these glasses that I could wear. And I could look at someone like Danny Seo and see that he's got 25,000 Facebook followers. He lives in Pennsylvania, et cetera. I could see it right in my glasses, right? It went on to be called Google Glass. But can anyone guess, and some of you may know the answer, so don't shout it out, how long it took them to prototype their first Google Glasses? Some of you were at New Hope. I've heard answers like 4 months, 4 years, 3 years, 1 year, even 4 weeks. It was 45 minutes. So in 45 minutes, they broke some monitors, they hooked them up to some wires, they put hangers on it, they had chopsticks involved, and they had a working prototype of Google Glass, right? That's amazing, and that's how Silicon Valley thinks. They're not afraid to fail. And the brands in this industry, we've gotten big, and a little happy, now it's all about ROI. You got to dot every I, you got to cross every T before you'll take the risk. I'm inspired by Silicon Valley because that's not where their head's at. They roll out version 1.0 software, and if it's got a bug, that's okay. We'll get version 1.1 out the next day. Rapid failure. It's a different mindset. It takes courage. It's going to take even more courage for our industry to figure out how to operate in this new world because that's our new competition. Make sense, everybody? Silicon Valley is exceptional at riding the wave. The pivot, if you think about the pivot as riding a wave, think of yourself on a surfboard. If you've ever been on a surfboard, the key to being on a surfboard is your weight's on the back foot. So when you see a wave coming at you, you put a little pressure on the back foot and you pivot the board where you want it to go. It's a perfect analogy. Another great quote by a guy named Eric Ries, who's a big visionary luminary in Silicon Valley. I love this quote. A pivot is a change in strategy without a change in vision. You cannot have a pivot without vision. That's just wandering around. I love that. Our industry has always had a vision, and while I am inspired by Silicon Valley, I'd like to submit that our industry was way ahead of them in terms of purpose and passion. And I believe we've got the ability, if we're willing to change and have courage and do the right thing, to pivot right there along with them and to take our industry to new heights, which I'm very excited about. So how does our industry pivot? What are we aiming for? How do we ride this wave of omni-channel and the ubiquitous shopper? Well, we're trying to figure that out at MegaFood. I tried to boil this down to a couple of key lessons. One is band together with your tribe. It's easier to do these things and it's less risky if you're doing it with people you love. If you're doing it with people that you trust, if you're in a tribe that's trying these things and you've got good relationships, much easier. So lesson number one for me, or tip number one, would be to band together with your tribe. We're doing this through efforts like our Support Natural Retail Zing Mojo Summits. We bring people in to New Hampshire and we talk about the industry. We talk about what's happening in natural retail and we try to enlist those conversations with our tribe to elevate and to try new things and to give each other courage to lift it up. We also have some amazing key partners, Naturally Danny CO, Terone Low Dog, Uncle Matt's Organic Orange Juice, Lumberg Farms. These are stall-based. I mean, these are our tribe. We try to partner with others. We go so far as to put them on our bottle to say, we're hanging with these people. It allows us to have the courage to do unique and exciting things that we need to have that courage to be able to try new things and to try to elevate. We're very proud. A couple of years ago, we started the Coalition for Supplement Sustainability to really drive the whole concept of non-GMO into the supplement world. Very unique in that I sit on the board with my two biggest competitors, Garden of Life and New Chapter. And we have an amazing working relationship. And I would say that that coalition has done more for non-GMO and supplements than anything we could have done individually. So we banded together with our tribe to really drive that. And last but not least, the Climate Collaborative. If you're not a part of the Climate Collaborative, we're proud to have joined just recently. Look into the Climate Collaborative because climate change is real. And it's going to take our whole industry and our whole tribe to really drive that to the next level. The next point after band together with your tribe is to take some risks and don't be afraid to try new things and fail. Really assess your risk. I highly recommend you watch a TED Talk by a guy named Tim Ferriss called Fear Setting. Fear setting was fantastic because he went through it wasn't goal setting, it was fear setting. What's holding me back? What is the fear? And he takes you through a very systematic method of identifying what's the worst thing that can happen and how can I mitigate that risk? So if you've got a leadership team in your company that's afraid of things or doesn't want to take the risk, think about some fear setting objectives. For us, it was the Transparency Initiative. 6 years ago, we did a speech on transparency where we announced cameras in our facilities. We now have multiple cameras in our facilities. You can look inside of our manufacturing facility 24/7 live, every day, every night, even when the facility is dark. And we get lots of hits on that. We also share all of our new product development, wide open. Come and see what we're doing because we want to engage people. We're engaging people with our Gummy Bear All initiative where we're trying to figure out how to make a better gummy. And so we're doing it live on Facebook. And we're inviting people to New Hampshire to see what we're doing, and we're taking them to our manufacturing plant, and we're having them taste it. It's a risk. That's risky. It's telling the world what we're doing from a new product standpoint, but we think it's the right thing to do. I'm excited to announce today that in the next week or so, we're going to be announcing a new VP of Social Impact at our company with MegaFood. This is a risk for us. We don't know what that means, but we want to make real impact. We decided that at MegaFood, we want to be the Ben & Jerry's or the Patagonia of our industry. We want to be held up at that level, so we're investing in that, right? We want to do something big. We don't know what it is. It's a lot of money. It's going to be an investment, but we're going to jump into that deep into the pool and figure it out. And last but not least, I'm really excited to announce we're about to embark on a test with the Independent Natural Food Retailers Association. Many of you know Kareen. Fantastic organization, collection of great natural foods retailers. If you're not familiar with it, learn about it. We're going to test some technology in these natural retailers over the next 6-8 months called zero out of stock on MegaFood. And the concept is if we go into a natural retailer and they either carry our product and it's not on the shelf for some reason, or they don't carry our product, but it's a product we make, if they sell that product, we're going to share that profit with the retailer and send that product directly to the customer. So they can still make the sale. That natural retailer is vital to us to make the sale and to tell our story and to drive loyalty. They can still feel comfortable making that sale and still getting the benefit of the sale. It's a way to take omni-channel to a new level and give other parts of our industry the same kind of advantage that an Amazon Whole Foods might have or a Walmart Jet might have. So we don't know what that's going to mean. We don't know really the cost. But we're diving into the deep end because it's the right thing to do, and we need to try to learn. And if it fails, that's okay, because we're going to fail as fast as we can. We're going to learn from it. We're going to push it forward. Now, most of us all know, why you're doing this. Many of you know it right here. But what are the results that we're seeking? Like, as an industry, what are we trying to do? I would say that as an industry, we need to broaden our view of what winning looks like. And if you're new to the industry, you're in a new company or a small, young entrepreneurial startup, great, welcome to the industry. This industry is built on bigger ideals than just making money. We've driven so much change in the United States and worldwide that it's incredible. We've got to embrace that in understanding what winning looks like. I think our industry needs to think about winning in terms of lower emergency room visits, lower obesity, the amount of local food consumed in your community, right? At MegaFood, it's all about curing nutritional poverty. That's the part we want to play. It's all about nutritional poverty. We're all nutrient poor. Even the wealthiest are poor in nutrition and nourishment, so that's where we focus our time. The CDC recently wrote a report saying that 66 million in the US are deficient in vitamin D, 30 million are deficient in vitamin B6, 18 million have vitamin B12 deficiency. These are all major causes of major disease in the United States. Our good friend Troy Lodog wrote a whole book on this, so find that Fortify Your Life, an amazing book that we're partnering with her to really try to drive this and understand what we can do to play our part in curing nutritional poverty. But what is it for you? What is it for your company? What part is your company playing? You may be more about recycling or upcycling or saving the planet or regenerative agriculture or whatever it is, it's okay, because it's all about making people and the planet better. It's about improving the life and the health and the wellness of the people and the planet. So my challenge and call to action for you, are you willing to step out? Are you willing to partner with your tribe? Are you willing to try new things? What is it for you? Tell me what it is. I'd love to know, because I love this stuff. I get fired up all day long and passionate about people that are passionate about something. At Robert U. Craven, tell me what you're passionate about. I want to hear it on Twitter. It's in our DNA. None of these things is hard. Listen to that still small voice. Have some courage. Push it. We've got a humongous opportunity ahead of us to drive change as an industry, and I'm very, very excited about it. And last but not least, again, the stakes are high. My Uncle Doug's a new grandfather. Couldn't be happier. His life is full. The stakes are high here. Doug represents all the needs that we're trying to conquer as an industry. And I'm so proud to be a part of this industry, and I just want you to know that together we can do big things. And last but not least, are you in? Thank you very much.
There's 10 minutes until the show floor opens, so we will release you. I didn't get any questions on Twitter, but please, if you have any thoughts, we're going to head out into the hall, and we'll be happy to answer questions one-on-one. We hope you have a wonderful show, and thank you so much for being here.